Welcome. This podcast is an exploration into being human and what's possible when there's less attention on the noise in our heads. Warning. While listening to this broadcast, you may experience moments of deep peace, sighs of relief, personal insights, or long stretches of dead air. Do not be afraid. This is normal. Under the Noise with Wyn and Kate Roberts.
Welcome. This is Under the Noise. I'm one of your hosts, Kate Roberts, and I'm here with my other host, Wyn Morgan.
Hi.
And today, as our guest, we have Sarah Sylvester. Sarah's gonna start us off today with telling us just a little bit about herself and where she's coming from in this conversation. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Kate, and hi, Wyn. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honour. I've known Wyn for over 20 years. There's a connection there between Wyn and my husband. They used to work together, and Wyn's not only a dear friend of mine, but he's now my mentor. I work and I learn and I train from him. Can you hear the NutriBullet in the background? I'm really sorry about that. Do you want me to pause so you can edit that out?
Good. Why don't we just go with it?
How my husband is NutriBulleting at 3:10 on a Friday afternoon. I'll never know. It is called Under the Noise, isn't it? So here we go. Here's noise for you.
Literally.
There's a literal amount of noise, but if I can use the NutriBullet and bring the NutriBullet in as an example of that kind of noise that was going on in my head when I experienced what I experienced in the burnout phase of my life, I operated at the speed and the sound of thought. And thought looked incredibly noisy to me, just like this NutriBullet that's still going off in the background. And I honestly believed that the noise that was going on for me and the speed in which my thinking was going on, and I had to operate at that level, that was just how normal people worked. And it was something that I just had to get used to and put up with, and just had to kind of go with it, because that was how life was. It was incredibly painful and incredibly exhausting. I mean, the last number that I can remember is that we have about 60,000 thoughts a day. Well, if you can imagine taking each of those 60,000 thoughts and analysing them and trying to do something with them and trying to think about why you've had them. Thank you, NutriBullet. And then trying to second guess when the next thought's going to come and whether that thought's going to be positive or negative, or think different thoughts, think good thoughts, don't think bad thoughts. And also, I think I said before we started that if I didn't think in the right way, you know, the right way that right people work, then I was going to get kicked off the planet. The thinking police were going to come after me and boot me off the planet for being a human imposter, because I wasn't thinking in the right way. I wasn't behaving in the right way. And there was definitely a noise to my life that I just got used to. And every time I opened my eyes, and even when I kept my eyes closed and I was going to sleep, there was this perpetual noise that just kept generating and generating. And I honestly think I had to do something about that noise. It was my mission to do something about the noise, and that's how I lived my life until I didn't. And it was really cool for me to notice that when I didn't, how much of an odd world the world looked. Because when I experienced my mental breakdown, and I was in an office in the work environment, and I was churning and churning and churning. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I think I shouted that out loud. I don't know what to do, because I hadn't seen yet that it's not about deciding what it is that you have to do at any moment and taking what the noise and deciding what to do with it. And whatever it was, we call it breakdown, I don't know, it's just a label that you attach to an incident. It knocked me on my arse. Can I say arse? Doesn't matter, I've said it anyway. It knocked me on my arse, and it's really strange that all of a sudden the lights went out, the noise stopped, and it was like literally the lights went out, and I was like, shit, what do I do now? Because everything stopped. And I've got goosebumps just talking about it. And when you know about my goosebumps, it's not a euphemism, it's a real thing. And the quiet scared me, massively terrified the life out of me. Because if I was quiet, I wasn't enough. And I had it so upside down. Quiet meant not enough. Quiet meant inactive, unsuccessful, bored, uninteresting, just not enough. And so then I made it my mission to fill the quiet. Even though the noise is what knocked me on my arse, the quiet came, but then I made it my mission to add more noise to the quiet, because that's what real people do, right? That's what successful people do. They generate noise. And it was only after I experienced something that I still can't quite explain, where silence for me all of a sudden became noise. And I know that sounds really weird, but there was a certain noise to silence, or it had an element of sound to it. It wasn't silent. It wasn't like nothing. There was a different sound quality to it. And there was I can't even describe it. There was a whisper to it. There was a comfort to it. There was a wisdom. There was an essence to it. And it didn't come from anything that I was doing to generate it. It came from came from somewhere. And I still sometimes struggle to articulate it. But some of the best things that I've ever come up with over the course of the last probably maybe a year, maybe 9 months, have been when I've listened to the sound of silence. And that sounds weird saying that out loud, but listening to the sound of silence has been the best generator. I don't know if that's the right word, but the best. Yeah, I'm going to use the word generator. Generator of creativity, of peace, of absolute being enough, because I never thought I would be enough ever. I avoided mirrors like the plague. I wouldn't look at myself in the mirror. I hated the person I was. I would be a horrible person to be around. I hated life. I hated the world. I hated everything about myself. And then somehow when the noise became different, that looked so much more different. So much more cleaner. And I don't know why I've used the word clean. It just popped into my head. Because it was like the opposite of clean, that muddy, dirty, toxic. I've had a vision of I don't know whether you've seen the Simpsons movie where Homer's got a toxic spill at the end of his drive and they're chucking things into the toxic spill and it's all green and it's all slimy, but It seemed that life, because people talk about peace and calm, but they never talk about clean. And that's how it felt to me. There was a cleanliness to life. And for that, I'll be forever grateful. And it still surprises me every day.
How do you account for that change?
I was open to hearing it or hearing out for it. I was open to seeing something different. The only thing that stopped me, I think, because we all want to preserve life. That is in our nature, I think, to preserve life, the life of others, the life of the people we love, and our own life as well. But I think the only thing that stopped me from ending my own life was hope. Hope for something different. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what different looked like. And at the time, Wyn, it looked like a leaf. And I don't know whether you want me to tell the story about the leaf, or whether it's not the time.
A little bit of explaining.
It will take a little bit of explaining. But Wyn and I had a game-changing afternoon, for me anyway, a few months after or maybe a few weeks after my breakdown. And I berated him with all that was wrong in my world. And I wanted to convince him that I was broken and battered and alone and confused. And I had very real examples that I believed to be absolutely real. I'd added story to them. I'd embellished them. I practiced them in my head. I believed all of the noise. And towards the end of that wonderful meeting that we had in the local Hilton nearby where we both live, I happened to glance down and see a leaf on the table of a plant that was next to us. The leaf had fallen off the plant. And all of a sudden, in my angst and my pain and my drama, oh my God, there's a leaf that's just fallen off a plant. That leaf was hope for me. Every time I think about the leaf, I get goosebumps, and I've got goosebumps now, because hope for me was how I accounted for the change. I was open to seeing something different, and that difference at that time was hope. And hope can get you quite far, I think. Or it can certainly, I suppose that's a really silly thing to say, and I don't know why I said it in that way, but what I mean in that is that it can almost pull you into the most important bit, which is right now. And that's what I mean by because I was so far away from that essence of life that happened underneath all of the noise that I was murdering myself slowly with. And it was that kind of, I suppose, grounding. It was hope getting you far, but hope dragging you back almost. And that's what I saw in the cleanliness and the quiet. Hope embraced me. And then hope became possibility. Possibility became something else. Possibility became clarity. Possibility became peace of mind. Possibility became, peace of mind became quiet. Quiet became clean thinking. And I keep using the word clean, but I can't think of another word from it. Just pure. And then I just saw thought in a completely different way that I didn't have to. I know it sounds really simple. I didn't have to believe everything I thought. I didn't have to do anything about it. That was a big thing for me. Massive. Changed my world. And I know it sounds really simple, but it did. I didn't have to believe anything that I was thinking. I didn't have to believe that the world had it in for me. Didn't have to believe that I was a rubbish human being, and certainly didn't have to believe that my clothes were talking to me and my hand was on fire and all of the other things that I'd been scaring myself silly about. we are magical human beings. We've got this magic about us. And when I grow up, I really want to be a magician. I really do. I think I might marry David Blaine or something. But we are magical. And I was always the victim. Or that's how I saw myself anyway, a victim of life. I never saw myself as this magical, wonderful vessel floating through life, absorbing everything that life had to offer. And that's how I see life now. I'm just like this magical vessel of loveliness. That regardless of what I tell myself, and regardless of what I think, I still get anxious, still get scared. I was blinking nervous before coming on here. I was petrified. Visited the toilet at least 3 times before starting. I still do all of the things that us humans do all of the time. Sob buckets about stupid things. But the fact that I do that, what would I be without that? I wouldn't be very magical. I would be I don't know. I can't think of anything I would be because it doesn't bear to think about, but it's just a wonder and a surprise. And I get surprised every day. In fact, less than every day, every minute of every day. At one point I wanted to switch that off, but I see it as something different now. I was going to say my lifeline, and to a certain extent it is, because it's what powers mind in a certain way. That's how I see it anyway. That surprise is the thing that powers mind. And that's how I describe it. Other people might have a different description. But I never want to be anything less than a surprise, because piling all the noise on top of that made the surprise less surprising, and the joke less funny, and the magic trick a little bit bleh. And the way I see life now is that it's like a joke that you only realise that it's a joke when you start to laugh. You don't have to know why you're laughing. It's just you start to laugh and you think, oh yeah, that's funny. And it's like you can't quite describe it. You don't need to know how to construct a joke, or how to tell a better joke next time, or how to tell a funny joke rather than a not funny joke. And the joke is only funny when you start to laugh and then you realise that it's funny. That's how I see it anyway.
You know, there's a few strands in that, Sarah, that reminded me of the important things that is easy to overlook. So one way of saying it, and I'm not saying this is true, but the one thing that I heard or witnessed at the time in all of those months was hope kept you in the game long enough for the truth that thought appears real to human beings, but it doesn't make it real, to tap you on the shoulder, to wake you up to the fact that you are human, and that when we become at peace with all of the part of being human, we then bear witness to the magnificence of having been born. Now, that would be my interpretation of what you said, definitely. But I think it really matters to me what you said about hope just kept you there long enough in order for you to see. And you said it in a really beautiful way. I didn't have to believe everything I think. And you saw the truth of thought is not fact. You even did a podcast series.
I know. I know. You see, the thing for me that shifted that the most was I honestly believed that life was a rehearsal. And what I mean by that I never lived in the real place of life. there was always some place to get to. So I had to behave in a certain way in order to live real life. So in order to do that, and I'm doing this transition with my hand, in order to do that, there was always somewhere to get to and some place to be other than here. So all of the things that were perpetually and habitually circulating, it was like, okay, so when I do that, then I'll be over there. I'll be able to live my real life rather than this fake one that I'm just kind of existing in right now. So there was always lots of things for me to do all of the time, even when there wasn't. So, okay, so in order for me to be successful, I need to change the colour of my hair. True story. Not proud of it. However, I went with it. In order to get a promotion at work, I need to drive a better car. Again, not proud of it, but went with it. In order to be a better mother, I need to be stricter with my daughter. All of these things that I thought would make me a better person and would get me to the real life rather than this life that I was existing in. So there was almost this, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but there was almost this duality going on, that somewhere to get to. And there was a generating nature to it that kept me busy all of the time. And busyness is noisy, it's active, it's incredibly exhausting. But again, I just thought there was something else other than what was on offer right now. And when I fell out of that place and into the place that I am now, it's like, I haven't moved a muscle, but all of a sudden it's like, what I have is enough. I don't need to get anywhere. I don't need to be anywhere. I don't need to do anything. What I have already is enough. If you were to strip back all of the cars and the suits and the strict parenting and the excessive drinking and the mad crazy up at 4 a.m. and going to the gym because you can't sleep. If you strip all that back, I am enough, exactly as I am. And I'm getting quite emotional. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, but that was a really big thing for me to see, because I'd never be able to say that. That this idea of there is here. And again, that sounds really silly, but it's simple, not silly. But there is here. Is that what you mean? There is here. But what I'm trying to say is there's nothing that I had to do, and no place I had to be, no destination, no drive, no perpetuating hurry or taking account of everything that was going on in the noisy world of Sarah Sylvester's head, because guess what? It's not Sarah Sylvester's thinking. It's just thoughts. It's nothing to do with me, because when you strip back me, I am enough. Sorry, I got a bit emotional then.
I think that was lovely. No need to apologise.
Sarah, I love that. And I love that story of where you were, before your meeting with Wynn and before you were seeing all of this. Because even though you had all of these thoughts that felt like they were crushing you at the time, your wisdom still found a way to reach you through all of that, to let you know that there's another way. You don't know what it is, how to get there or any of that, but you knew this isn't it. And I think that's our wisdom, able to get through even sometimes the busiest minds and the most creative thoughts that keep you bouncing around. That wisdom's always there talking. And I love that.
And that's such a lovely way of putting it, Kate, because I think over the habitual chatter that we all have, the inner critic, whatever you want to call it, that you don't hear what's underneath, or you may hear it, but you don't listen to it, because there's always something else to listen to, or there's always something else to hear. And for me, the fact that I can be, I'm not even going to end that sentence, like the fact that I can just be was game changing for me. Hugely. Again, goosebumps central. I've got them all on my legs as well now. But for anybody to see that you don't need to end that sentence, you don't need to be well or be happy or be confused or be any of that. You can just be, because that is your, any word that I'm going to choose now is going to just pale into insignificance as to how it is, because it's your birthright, it's where you're from, it's your essence, whatever word, it's not going to do it justice. I've got my words, everybody else has got theirs. But to be, when I saw that for the first time, that knocked me on my ass massively. And then all of a sudden, again, it was like, again, the lights went out. It's like, whoosh, what? Hang on a minute. I've got nowhere to go. I've got nothing to get to. I've got no, what? What? And I think even now, and I come back to the word surprised, but even now it's like, what? I just get overrun by it. And it reminds me of the first moment that I got in touch with that. I woke up one morning and my eyes were not open yet. And I knew I was awake because I could sense that it was morning. I don't know why. But I had an immense wave of emotion that washed over me from the tips of my toes to the top of my head, and then back down again. I opened my eyes and I cried, because for that moment I got in touch with that part of me that was pure. And I'm going to use the word real, because for a long time I believed a lot of things that were real that weren't real. But there was a truth to that place that I was sat in or laid in. I was laying down. And that is why my coaching business that I started a few months ago is called A Place of Space, because I dropped quite naturally into a place of space. And there's so much power in that space that I just didn't ever believe was a place. And the place of space is a magical place. And that's why I called my business such.
There's so much inspiration, so much that is inspirational about what you've shared and about what you've seen, and the fact that now you're helping other people see what you've seen, for them to notice what's under the noise for them, of the enoughness, the being as opposed to the doing. I just find that an amazing thing that you're up to with your life now.
Thank you. There's a different gear to my life. And what I mean by that is that, and it's not as simple as just slowing down, because I know a lot of people would say, well, you know, yeah, you look a lot calmer and a lot slower these days, you're not as frantic. But there's a different gear. And I'd almost say, and I know this sounds weird to say it this way, but there's a neutrality. There's like almost like dropping the car into neutral. It's not like putting it in reverse or kind of literally slowing it down so it runs at 20 rather than 40 or whatever. But there's just dropping it into neutral and just trying cool shit out and just seeing when you have to press the accelerator and when you don't. And sometimes you press the accelerator too hard and you realise and you think, oh, hang on a minute. There it goes again. You just go, hang on, I can just take all I have to do is just take my foot off the accelerator. Okay. And just drop it into neutral again. And even saying that, I'm thinking, well, I don't even have to do that. Because there's almost like you talked about that wisdom, Kate. There's a sense that the built-in sat-nav that comes with every car will just point out to you, roadworks ahead, just be wary. And when you're parked on the side of the road because there's congestion going on, just ride it out. Ride it out, come on. And that's what I mean by a gear shift. Because I have a lot of friends that have said to me, oh, you're operating at such a different speed right now. How do I get to that speed? Or what did you have to do to get to that speed? Or I tell you what, I just need to stop thinking too much. Or I need to stop. Or I need to do meditation. Or I need to go to yoga classes. Or I need to run. Or I need to cut down on my alcohol. Or eat less carbs or whatever it may be. And I always say to them, if it was in what you had to do, then you'd have done it by now. You'd have figured it out by now. But there's a place of space within you that already knows, and you already know. But for whatever reason, you're choosing not to listen. And that's okay. Because there will be a time when you will listen. And maybe if you'll allow me to tap you on the shoulder and point you in the direction of that noise, then, or that little voice, or that whatever it is that's been there all the time, then cool. If you don't want it, no harm, no foul. I really don't care. And I want to take that back because I do care, but it's like, there is nobody alive, and I remember the conversation that I had with Wynn originally when I regaled him with all my nonsense that was going on that I really believed to be true, and he looked at me with such compassion and he just said, oh well. And I wanted to punch his lights out. I really did. I wanted to punch him in the face because, and I tell this story quite a lot, and it came with an immense amount of compassion because I know I can see it in others. There is nobody that I have talked to yet, including my own sister, that I can't see what it is under the noise, or what is going on under the noise, and what you are and what that essence of self or whatever you want to call it is under the noise. There's nobody that I have yet seen that I haven't seen that too. And that's why I said I don't care, because I don't have to put it there. It's nothing to do with me. You've got it. Let me point it out. Let's point it out together.
And if anyone wanted to get hold of you, how would they do that, Sarah?
So because I'm quite a new business, I've not got a website set up yet. So I'm on Facebook at aplaceofspace. I do cool little audio bursts every week where if there's something that's been helpful for me to kind of help me through an uncertain time, then I do a cool little weekly audio burst of about 10 minutes. But I have an email address, which is aplaceofspace@icloud.com. And I also see the impact of what I've seen on my nearest and dearest as well. My husband, my daughter, and me and my husband started a podcast called Yeah, But What's Really Going On? And it came about quite naturally because we were talking about some of the insights that I'd got. And then he came back with something that he was struggling with. And I just happened to say, yeah, Martin, but what's really going on underneath all of that? And he was like, whoa, you're going to go all coachy on me, are you? But we just have cool chats about what maybe, or what as humans we scare ourselves silly with, but what's really going on underneath? What's if you were to get a scratch, you scratch the surface, and what's going on underneath? Because underneath an itch or a scab, there's fresh, wholesome, beautiful skin that's just waiting to come out underneath that scab that you keep scratching. And that's what we do. So the podcast is called Yeah, But What's Really Going On? And that goes out weekly. And it's just me and Martin shooting the breeze and talking shit most of the time, but we love it. We think it's well cool.
It really is. Well, that was great, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
I'm so blessed to know you, Wyn. I really am. Every time I remember any one of our sessions, I'm just incredibly grateful that you walked into my life. You might not have walked into my life, but you know what I mean. And I'm incredibly grateful that we share what we share, and you teach what you teach, and I see what I see, and we share what we, and I learn and I work, and I'm just incredibly grateful. And Kate, I'm incredibly grateful to share this space with you. I really am.
Me too. Me too. Thanks for taking the time.
No, thank you. Sending much love to you both.
Thanks, Sarah.
Lots of love back to you. So you've been listening to Under the Noise with Kate Roberts, Wyn Morgan, and our guest today, Sarah Sylvester. Thanks for being with us, and hope to see you again soon.
You can count on it.
Thanks for joining us. We'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have a topic or question that you'd like us to chat about, email Wyn or Kate at wyn@winning.co.uk and Kate at katerobertscoaching.com. Until then, enjoy what's possible under the noise.